Okay, so today let's talk about beans. We're all about beans today. We're going to talk about the difference between bush beans and pole beans, which one's best for you. Maybe they're both good for you. I don't know. So it's just a little informative video, and then I'll go through and I'll show you the bush beans that I have growing in the original green stock and a little update on that. But first off, let's talk about bush beans. So bush beans, the seeds take about 6 to 8 days to germinate. From germination, about 55 days to harvest. So not too long, pretty good. And then you should plant the seeds about 4 inches apart. Now, we've talked about this. This spacing is kind of a suggestion. Seeds are going to want to grow no matter where you place them. It just kind of matters whether there's enough airflow and if they're not like competing against each other to grow. So that's why there's those spacing guidelines. But if you plant them a little bit closer, I'm sure that you'll be fine, but not right on top of each other. So the great thing about bush beans is they're a little bit more low maintenance than pole beans. Because they are a bush, they don't need support. So you don't have to worry about going into your garden and trying to trellis your beans, making sure that they're going up this trellis. So they're just going to sit there, they're going to be a little bush, and you're going to harvest them about 55 days after you plant them. As far as taste goes, pole beans and bush beans taste pretty much the same. You might have a slight difference in variety that you choose, but pretty darn the same. Nothing too crazy. They get about 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide, so don't take up a lot of space. So great for something like the green stock. You can still have the beans that you want, don't have to worry about this huge trellis and a large space to grow it in. One thing is that they do yield almost all at once. So once they start to flower and produce the beans, you're going to get a harvest at that time. You're not going to get a long production compared to pole beans. So that could be a negative for you. It could not. You could just succession plant, and then you could have them for a longer season because each plant wouldn't be quite ready at the same time. Bush beans also need full sun. So just like regular pole beans, that's the same. So those are kind of the pros and cons and kind of just generalizations about bush beans. We're going to see how mine do in the green stock here in a minute. I'll show you those. But if you don't want something that's going to be high maintenance and you just plant it in the ground and all you do is water it and harvest, these guys might be the best bet for you. But let's talk about pole beans. Okay, we've got some Kentucky pole beans here. So these also germinate from 6 to 8 days after you plant them. Their harvesting is a little bit later, so it's 66 days. Not too many, but a little bit longer of a period. They do need something to crawl up, whether that's a trellis or a stick or like a teepee trellis or something like that. They need something to grow up. So you will have to be out there and kind of looking at them and be like, oh, okay, I need to hook these guys up. So that is one thing. Could be a con, could be a pro for you. Maybe you have a huge trellis that you want them to grow up and around and you want it to be beautiful. So that could be a pro for you. They do also need full sun. They can get up to 6 to 12 feet tall. So that's also something to consider when you are having it crawl up something, is that it's going to have a decent amount of height to it. And then their production time is a little bit longer. So you'll have, it won't yield all of its beans at once. It'll be throughout the season. So you'll constantly be picking beans throughout the season for a little bit longer. So if you're looking to plant less plants and have a longer growing season and not have to do the succession planting, then maybe pole beans are the way for you to go. And yeah, I'm going to do both. I haven't planted my pole beans yet. My children are having fun out in the yard. I'm sure you can hear them. But I haven't planted my pole beans yet. I plan on doing that. My trellis isn't very tall though. So once they start growing up I'm gonna have to figure out how to add something on the top. It shouldn't be too complicated, but we'll see how it does. But so I've decided to do both. I've decided to do some pole and some bush. I've done quite a bit of bush in my green stock. So they're both good for me, and I'll let you decide. Bush or pole. Okay, here are the bush beans in the green stock. They are just like exploding right now. And then look at these ones. So I might have to go through and I might have to thin these a little bit because I don't know if 2 in 1 pot is going to give it enough space. So I'll probably have to go through and thin these, but look at how beautiful they're looking. They're doing awesome. So those are just some examples of the bush beans that I'm growing. And then I'll go show you how I'm going to grow the pole beans right now. Here we are at my trellis. It's not very tall, so I'm going to have to do something once my beans start growing up it. But I am just going to take my bean seeds and I am just going to plop them in here, and then I'm going to cover the tops of them with dirt, and then I'm going to really moisten them with water. And I'm going to make sure that these seeds stay really moist until they germinate. So I'm literally just placing them on the surface. I'm doing about 3 inches apart, about 2.5, 3 inches apart, somewhere in there. And then I'm gonna just put a layer of soil right over the top of them and just gently pat it down. A little bit more down here, and then I'm just gonna water them in, and it's as simple as that. That'll do it for us. So I gave you some pros and cons, or just the general information about the differences between bush beans and pole beans, and from there you guys can decide what is best for you, and maybe a little bit of both is best for you. Maybe it's one over the other. So anyway, I hope you guys get to plant in your beans pretty soon, and I hope that you liked this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to me and hit that like button, leave a comment, and yeah, I'll see you guys at the next video. So as always, I hope you have a great day, no matter where you are.